I've been in love with my husband for almost my entire life. The problem? He has never loved me back. My husband is Connor Cade, the oldest son of the Cade family, and the man slowly taking control of one of the most powerful mafia organizations on the eastern side of the city. To everyone else, being Connor Cade's wife sounds like a dream. After all, it's my dream. However, after 2 years of marriage, I was beginning to realize what it was. Just a dream. Connor and I had known each other since we were children. Our families had always been close. In our world, that meant family dinners, business meetings, birthday parties, weddings, and occasionally watching our fathers disappear into rooms we weren't allowed to enter. Connor and I practically grew up together along with our siblings. When we were little, he was just Connor, the annoying boy who stole food from my plate, the boy who would grab my hand and drag me along whenever the other children tried leaving me behind, the boy who once punched another kid because he made me cry. Back then, I thought Connor was family, my favorite person in the world. Until we got older and somewhere between childhood and now to adulthood, something changed. At least for me. I started noticing things I hadn't before. The way Connor smiled, his eyes, the way my heart would race whenever he stood too close, and the way I searched for him whenever our families were together. Eventually, I had to admit the truth. I was in love with Connor Cade. Unfortunately, Connor never felt the same way. I found that the hard way. When our family suggested marriage, Connor agreed. I was so happy, but Connor? I guess marrying me made sense to him. It's for the Cade family, my family, the business. Our marriage strengthened an alliance, secured territory, and made both families more powerful. For Connor, that was enough. For me? I foolishly believed it could become more. I still remember our wedding night. I had been sitting on the edge of our enormous bed, nervous and hopeful, when Connor loosened his tie and looked at me. I was still blushing from our kiss, my first kiss, and I think Connor truly knew that how we felt was different. Maybe that was why he decided to make things clear immediately. "You have my name," he told me, "my protection. Anything money can buy." My heart was pounding, after all. Connor's the love of my life. Someone who I have loved for years. And then he finished his sentence. "But don't ask me for my heart." I should have listened. I should have protected myself. Instead, I smiled and convinced myself that Connor simply needed time. Maybe one day he would look at me differently. Maybe one day this marriage wouldn't feel like a business arrangement. Maybe one day he will love me too. So I tried. God, I tried. I became exactly what everyone expected Connor Cade's wife to be. When Connor began taking over half of his father's business, I stood beside him at every event. I smiled at men I knew were dangerous. I shook hands with their wives. I learned when to speak and when to remain silent. Whenever Connor disappeared in the middle of the night because of business, I waited for him, sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning. Whenever he came home injured, I quietly cleaned his wounds. I memorized exactly how he liked his coffee. I knew which meals he hated, which suits he preferred, which meetings stressed him out. I knew when he was angry simply from the way he loosened his tie, and I never complained. I always smiled, did my best to support his side. Connor wasn't cruel. Sometimes I wished he was. Maybe then hating him would have been easier, but Connor was always kind to me. He respected me, trusted me, protected me. If someone insulted me, Connor handled it before I could even open my mouth. Nobody was allowed to disrespect the wife of Connor Cade. Sometimes he brought me gifts when he returned from business trips. Sometimes he remembered little things I'd mentioned weeks earlier. Sometimes he would look at me and smile. And for one stupid second, my heart would convince me that maybe there was something there, but there never was. In 2 years of marriage, our intimacy consisted of holding hands when people were watching, the occasional kiss on my cheek, and a polite smile from across a crowded room. Nothing more, nothing less. Eventually, the hope began to hurt more than rejection. Some nights, Connor would sleep beside me. I would stay awake those nights just to stare at him, to get as close to him as possible because that's all I could get. Other nights, his side of the bed remained empty. Those nights were the worst. I would stare at the ceiling for hours while questions tortured me. Where is he? What is he doing? Who is he with? I knew Connor had dangerous responsibilities. I knew his work didn't exactly follow normal business hours, but there was always one question I couldn't silence. What if there's another woman? Someone he actually wanted. Someone he actually loved. Someone who wasn't just a job to him. Maybe there was a woman somewhere who received everything Connor refused to give me. His kisses, his touch, his heart. The thought made me sick. But then I would remind myself, Connor wouldn't do that to me. Would he? He might not love me, but he respected me. He wouldn't humiliate me like that. That's what I truly believed until tonight. It was late when Connor finally came home. I was still awake, curled beneath the blankets watching television when I heard our bedroom door open. Immediately I sat straighter, my heart pounding, and I quickly fixed how I looked. Ridiculous, isn't it? I had been married to this man for 2 years. And somehow Connor could still make me feel like a teenager with her first crush. He walked into the bedroom while loosening his tie. Dark, soft curls, slightly messy from the long day. Sharp brown eyes. Broad shoulders beneath an expensive black suit. And that face. God. My husband was unfairly handsome. Still awake? Connor asked. My cheeks warmed when his eyes briefly met mine. Yes. I quickly climbed out of bed. I took a nap earlier, so I'm not really tired. Connor hummed before shrugging off his jacket. Without thinking, I reached for it. He handed it to me. You don't have to do that. I know. I smiled softly. It's okay. It was always okay. That had practically become the motto of our marriage. Connor missed dinner? It's okay. Connor couldn't attend something with me? It's okay. Connor disappeared for days because of business? It's okay. Connor couldn't love me? It's okay. Except it wasn't anymore. Something inside me had been slowly breaking for months. My feelings were becoming numb. I was tired. So painfully tired, but I love him. I love him so much. And I still took his jacket. Connor headed toward the bathroom while I walked toward the laundry basket. And then, I stopped. There was a smell on his jacket. A sweet, floral perfume. That wasn't mine. I don't wear this kind of perfume. The one time I did, Connor told me he didn't like it and I threw it out. But this smell filled my nose, almost sickeningly so. My stomach dropped. No, there had to be an explanation. Maybe someone hugged him at an event. Maybe he stood beside someone wearing too much perfume. Maybe. Then I saw it. A lipstick mark. Right near the collar. I stared at it and, suddenly, I couldn't breathe. My fingers tightened around his jacket. Don't cry. I swallowed. Don't cry. My eyes burned. Please don't cry. I quickly dropped the jacket into the laundry basket before Connor could see me staring at it. A second later, the shower turned on. The sound of rushing water filled the bathroom while the television continued playing softly behind me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to march into that bathroom and demand answers. Whose perfume is that? Who kissed you? Is there someone else? Do you love her? But another question frightened me more than all the others. What if he says yes? The bathroom door suddenly opened. Why, N. I jumped. Connor stood there looking at me. I immediately forced a smile onto my face. Yes? Go to sleep, he said. I'll be working in my office after I shower. So don't stay awake waiting for me. There were so many things I wanted to say. So many questions sitting on the tip of my tongue. However, I smiled like the perfect wife I had spent 2 years being. Okay. My voice almost cracked. I cleared my throat. Good night, Connor. Don't work too hard. He nodded. Good night. Then, just before closing the bathroom door, he added softly, Sweet dreams. The door closed. I slowly walked back toward our bed. My legs felt weak as I climbed beneath the blankets and pulled them up to my chest. Then I stared at the television as the romance movie played. A fantasy I always dreamt of to have with Connor. The shower was running. The television was murmuring. And beneath those sounds, I finally allowed myself to cry as I hid underneath the blanket quietly. Because even while my heart was breaking, I didn't want Connor to hear me. Maybe that was the most pathetic part. I loved him enough to hide the pain he caused me. For 2 years, I had waited and hoped. I had convinced myself that if I loved Connor enough, eventually he would find a reason to love me too. But now, I finally understood. I had been foolish. So incredibly foolish. I had built an entire love story inside my head while my husband had never promised me one. Connor had warned me from the beginning. You have my name, my protection, anything money can buy. But don't ask me for my heart. And like a fool, his heart was the only thing I had ever wanted, but it will never happen. Connor Cade would never love me. I pretended nothing had happened. I did what I always did. Woke up, made sure Connor coffee was prepared exactly how he liked it. I ate dinner with him or without him. I smiled when he looked at me while my heart did a stupid flip. I straightened his tie before meetings. I asked about his day, if he ate, if he was resting. I continued being the perfect wife. Because after 2 years of marriage, that was all I really knew how to be, and that was all I ever really wanted. Yet things changed. Every time Connor smiled at me, I remembered the perfume on his jacket. Every time he touched my hand, I wondered if those same hands had touched another woman. Every time he kissed my cheek before an event, I wondered if there was someone else whose lips he actually wanted to kiss. And the aching pain in my chest continued to grow. My first thought was divorce. It was the obvious solution. Normal couples who didn't love each other got divorced. Except Connor and I weren't a normal couple. Our marriage wasn't only a marriage. It was an alliance. The Cades and my family had spent years building a relationship together. There were businesses involved, territories, money, reputation. If I suddenly asked Connor for a divorce, questions would be asked and people would talk. My family would demand to know what he'd done, his family would demand to know what I'd done, my brothers would get involved, and Connor's reputation would take the biggest hit. People would assume he couldn't control his own marriage. His enemies would whisper. His allies would question him. And despite everything, I couldn't do that to him. None of this was Connor's fault. He never once lied to me. That was perhaps the most painful truth of all. Connor had told me exactly what our marriage would be from the beginning. Connor had been forced into this marriage just as much as I had. The only difference was that I happened to fall in love with the person chosen for me. He didn't. I couldn't punish him for that. So divorce wasn't an option, which left me with one other choice. I was going to disappear. At first, the thought terrified me. Running away from Connor Cade wasn't exactly something people did. This man had connections everywhere. If Connor wanted someone found, they were usually found. But why would he look for me? That question hurt more than I expected. There were days when Connor barely saw me. Sometimes we went an entire day living beneath the same roof without having a real conversation. Sometimes he disappeared for days because of work. If I left quietly enough, he wouldn't even realize I was gone until it was too late. He'd walk into our bedroom one evening and finally notice my side of the closet was empty. By then, I would be thousands of miles away, and maybe Connor would feel relieved, happy even. He wouldn't have to pretend anymore. No more polite kisses on the cheek. No more holding my hand because people were watching. No more wife waiting at home for him. He could finally be with whoever had left that lipstick stain on his jacket. Someone he actually loved. The thought made my chest ache, but I forced myself to accept it. I planned everything quietly and quickly. I knew which accounts were monitored, which purchases his people would notice, and which cards could be traced immediately. So, I withdrew a decent amount and made a lie about wanting a new collection of purses to fit in with the upcoming event. All the other wives spoke of it. To Connor, it made sense. I packed slowly over the week, on a shirt here and a dress there. Important documents disappeared from the safe. A few sentimental things were tucked beneath ordinary clothes. I couldn't take everything, and besides, I didn't want everything. I didn't want the jewelry Connor had bought me. I didn't want the designer dresses. I didn't want expensive handbags or shoes or anything that reminded me of being Mrs. Cade. I wanted enough to start over. New Zealand is where I chose. Far enough that the Cade name wouldn't follow me everywhere I went. I bought my ticket with cash. I secured somewhere to stay. I created a plan for the first few months. For the first time in years, I imagined a life that didn't revolve around Connor. I would have a small home, a normal job, and a life with just me. Maybe I'd finally discover who I was when I wasn't somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, or Connor Cade's wife. Maybe someday I'd meet someone kind, ordinary, and who would love me back. Someone who would love me like I love Connor. Then the morning finally came. Connor wasn't home, which was almost like a blessing and a curse. Part of me was happy I could walk away freely while the other half felt hurt. I almost wished he did catch me, holding my hand and telling me to stay, to tell me he does love me. I chuckled at my own stupid thought as I took off my wedding ring and placed it on top of the folded letter I wrote. Tears threatened to fall. In the letter, I wrote how I love him. I love him so much, and all I want is to be by his side, but I know he doesn't feel the same. I know he isn't happy with me. I just know he deserves better and to be with someone he actually loves. I continued with how not to look for me. I'll be safe. Not to worry about my family as I told them I'm going on a trip. And once again, how much I love him. I took one deep breath before taking my luggage downstairs. When the workers saw the bags, one of them looked surprised. Going somewhere, Mrs. Cade? I smiled. Just a little trip. Does Mr. Cade know? My heart stumbled, but my smile never disappeared. Yes. The lie came surprisingly easily. Connor knows. Nobody questioned me after that. Why would they? I was his wife. I climbed into the waiting car, and as the gates to the Cade estate slowly opened, I refused to look back, because if I did, I wasn't sure I'd have the strength to leave. My phone was turned off, left behind. My ticket was waiting, and somewhere thousands of miles away, there was a completely different life waiting for me.
I knew something was wrong the second I walked into the house. I couldn't explain it since nothing looked different. The guards were where they were supposed to be. The staff moved throughout the house as usual. Someone greeted me the moment I stepped through the door. I loosened my tie as I walked farther inside and asked the question I always ask. "Where's YN?" One of the staff members looked toward me. "Mrs. Cade left earlier today, sir." I stopped. "Left?" "Yes, sir. For her trip." My eyebrows pulled together. "What trip?" The man's expression changed into confusion. "Mrs. Cade said you knew." I stared at him. I didn't. Then silence. Something cold settled in my stomach. "When did she leave?" "This morning." "Where?" "I don't know, sir." My jaw tightened. "The hell? You don't know? Where did she go?" I'm not sure. She only said she was going on a trip." I was already pulling my phone from my pocket to call her, and it went to voicemail. "YN," I muttered. What the hell was she doing? Maybe she'd gone to visit her family. Except YN would have told me. She always told me. Not because I demanded it, but YN always did. So why hadn't she told me this time? I tried to call again, but straight to voicemail. I headed upstairs, leaving the worker shaking. I called, even though I knew she's not there. I still called for her, half expecting to pop her head out, smiling and saying in her soft tone, "Yes?" I pushed open our bedroom door. I found it empty, and my eyes immediately scanned the room. It's empty and cold. I walked farther inside as I kept trying to call her over and over again. I went to our master bathroom, to the closet, back towards the bed. What the hell? Where the hell did you go? I was about to call one of her brothers when something on the nightstand caught my attention. Then I froze as I saw a ring. Her ring, our wedding ring, and for several seconds, I simply stared at it. No. I walked toward the nightstand. There was an envelope beneath it. My name was written across the front in her handwriting. Something inside my chest dropped and I felt sick. "No," I let out. I grabbed the envelope. No. I tore it open and started reading it. The first few lines confused me, irritated me, and finally terrified me. She loved me. That wasn't surprising. I knew why. N loved me. I'd always known. She told me in 100 different ways, even when she didn't say the words. But she wrote that loving me had become too painful, that all she'd ever wanted was to be beside me, to be my wife, to have a real marriage. But she knew I didn't feel the same way as her. My eyes stopped moving and raised my eyebrow. What? I read that part again, then again. She thought I didn't love her? She continued to write how I wasn't happy with her, that I deserved better, and that maybe I could be with someone whom I actually love. What the hell is she talking about? My voice sounded strange in the empty bedroom as I kept reading. She didn't want me looking for her. She promised she would be safe. She had told her family she was taking a trip, so I didn't need to worry about them searching for her immediately. She wasn't telling me where she was going and scattered throughout the entire damn letter. She kept telling me she loves me. Again. And again. And again. By the time I reached the end, my hands were shaking. I stared at the letter, then her ring, the empty bedroom. My wife had left me. She had left me. I sat at the edge of the bed, and for the first time, I had absolutely no idea what to do. The worst part was that I understood why she believed it. I told her myself at our wedding because it was what I felt back then. I closed my eyes. God damn it! When our marriage was arranged, YN had been someone I'd known practically my entire life. Our families were close. We grew up together. I cared about her. Of course I cared about her. She was family to me, someone I trusted, someone I would protect without hesitation. I would be a perfect husband for her. But love? I'd never been in love. I didn't even know what the hell that was supposed to feel like. I'd seen men destroy themselves over women. I'd watched powerful men become idiots because they were supposedly in love. That wasn't me. I had responsibilities, a job, and an organization I was slowly taking over. I didn't have time to chase some ridiculous feeling I didn't understand. So when I married YN, I decided honesty was kinder. I would give her anything she needed, but love wasn't part of the arrangement. But things do change. I am human after all. It didn't change immediately. It happened so slowly that I didn't even notice, and it hit me so hard. She simply became part of me, is me. I got used to waking up and seeing her asleep beside me. I got used to hearing her footsteps around the house. I got used to her sitting across from me at breakfast. I got used to coming downstairs and finding coffee waiting because somehow she always knew exactly when I'd be awake. I got used to walking into events with her hand tucked into mine. I got used to looking across crowded rooms and immediately searching for her face. I got used to coming home injured and hearing her scold me while carefully cleaning blood from my skin. I got used to her voice, her laugh, her smile, her perfume light and sweet, her belongings with mine. I got used to having a wife. No, not a wife. I have gotten used to YN, and she stopped being the woman my family had arranged for me to marry. She became the woman I wanted to come home to. There were nights I'd be sitting in meetings and catch myself wondering if she'd eaten dinner. I'd see something in a store and think she'd like it. I'd hear someone mention a restaurant and wonder if I should take her there. Whenever something happened, she became the first person I thought about telling. When she smiled at another man for too long, something ugly twisted inside me. When someone disrespected her, I wanted blood. When she was sick, I couldn't concentrate. When I was away for days, I'd missed her. When I opened my eyes, my first thought was her. Is that love? If it is, I laughed once. It wasn't amused. More sounded broken. You idiot. I wasn't sure whether I meant her or myself, probably myself. Because what kind of man falls in love with his own wife and doesn't realize it until she leaves him? I thought back over the last week. She'd been quieter, hadn't she? Why? N still smiled, still made my coffee, asked about my day, kissed my cheek before I left. And I kissed hers. Always her cheek. Never her lips. Only once, which was on our wedding night. My chest tightened. Jesus Christ, what had I done? She'd spent 2 years loving me right in front of my face, while I'd spent 2 years acting like giving her everything except affection was somehow enough. Then another part of her letter came rushing back. Someone you actually love. My brows furrowed. Someone else? What about someone else? There was no other woman. There hadn't been another woman since we got married. So where the hell did she get that idea? Anger just swirled inside of me. I grabbed the letter again. Don't look for me. My eyes narrowed. Absolutely not. She could be angry with me. She could scream at me. She could demand a divorce. She could throw that wedding ring directly at my head if she wanted. But will it disappear from me? No. Hell no. I reached for my phone. One call to my right-hand man, Jason. One ring, and he picked up. YN. Left this morning on an unknown trip. I want every camera checked. Every airport. Train station. Car service. Hotel, anything connected to her name. My grip tightened around the phone, and check her accounts. Find out whether she's withdrawn money recently. Yes, sir. I ended the call. People moved when Connor Cade gave an order, usually because they feared me, usually my anger motivated them, and today was even more so. My wife believed I didn't love her, and she was somewhere out there convinced that leaving me was giving me freedom. I looked down at her wedding ring. Slowly, I picked it up. It looked impossibly small in my palm. For 2 years she'd worn this, stood beside me, and I never truly once told her what she became to me. I didn't know. I didn't know how love works. Nobody had ever taught me. I thought love was supposed to be obvious, violent, and overwhelming like the one-night stands or flirty talks with other women before getting married. I thought of some immediate obsession that knocked the air from your lungs, and stayed that way. I didn't realize love could happen quietly, that it could sneak into your morning coffee, into an empty side of the bed as she slept quietly, into automatically reaching for someone's hand, into coming home after the worst night of your life, and feeling better simply because she was there. I didn't realize I'd fallen in love with YN, because by the time it happened, loving her felt normal, like breathing, and you don't notice how badly you need air until suddenly it's gone. I closed my fist around her ring. No, she wasn't gone. I didn't care what her damn letter said. I didn't care how far she'd planned to run. And I sure as hell wasn't going to let her disappear, believing there was another woman waiting to take her place. There was no other woman. There had never been another woman. There was only my wife, the woman I'd been stupid enough to fall in love with and even stupider not to tell. "I'm coming, sweetheart." I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. You can hate me when I find you. I didn't care. She could hate me for the rest of my life. At least she'd be there to do it, by my side where she belongs. But I'm finding you. 1 month. That was how long my wife had been gone. No phone call, no messages, nothing. YN had disappeared so completely that if I hadn't spent most of my life knowing her, sleeping beside her for 2 years, waking up to her every morning, I would have wondered if she'd ever existed at all. "Anything?" The man standing across from my desk swallowed. "No, sir." My eyes narrowed and he shifted. "We've expanded the search. Airports, hotels, rental properties, border records. I didn't ask where you've searched." My voice remained calm, which made him even more nervous. "I asked if you found my wife." "No, sir." My jaw clenched. "Then get the hell out." He didn't need telling twice. The door shut behind him. Silence returned to my office, and I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. How the fuck had she done this? I knew my wife was intelligent. I'd always known that. But apparently, somewhere between making my coffee and smiling sweetly beside me at family dinners, YN had learned exactly how to disappear from men whose entire careers revolved around finding people. There was practically nothing attached to her name. No card transactions after she'd left. She'd used cash. I should have known it was weird her buying a collection of purses since YN was never really materialistic. Still, that realization still pissed me off. Not at her, but at myself. She had planned her escape right underneath my nose and I hadn't noticed. I rubbed my face. Her ring was still in my pocket every day as I carried the damn thing everywhere. Maybe because it was the only piece of her I had left. A piece that meant us. All her other stuff stayed exactly where it was, the way she left it. I'd forbidden anyone from touching anything, for when she comes home and needed everything. Not if, never if, but when she comes home. Because I am going to find her. England had been our best lead. Why? Anne had told her parents she was traveling there and she wouldn't lie to her parents. So I'd sent men there. London first and they searched everywhere, but she was nowhere, so we kept expanded farther, and still nothing. Why? Anne had never been in England, at least anywhere we could prove. Why? Anne lied to her entire family. The sweet daughter lied to them and apparently she'd done it very fucking well. My phone vibrated and my eyes immediately snapped toward it. Pathetic every time, but I can't help it. My whole heart wants it to be her. Her name on the screen. I couldn't remember the last time I'd slept properly. Our bedroom had become unbearable. The first week, I tried sleeping in our bed and that barely lasted. Every time I rolled over, I expected her to be there. Sometimes I'd wake up half asleep and reach toward her side, but it's just cold sheets. Is this what YN felt? One night, I'd even muttered her name before opening my eyes and expected her to be there. When I realized she wasn't, I stopped sleeping there. Now, I slept in my office, if I even slept. Work irritated me. People irritated me. Everything fucking irritated me. I missed YN. Jesus Christ. I miss her so much. Miss things I'd never even realized. I noticed the little sound she made when she was concentrating. The way she'd steal food from my plate despite ordering the exact same thing. How she curled into herself when she slept. The way she'd say my name whenever she was annoyed. I could practically hear it. Sometimes I did. I'd be walking through the house and swear I heard her downstairs. Once, I actually followed the sound. It was one of the maids laughing softly. It nearly lost my mind. 31 days without hearing my wife's voice. 31 days without seeing her face. 31 days of wondering where she slept. I wonder if she was eating, frightened, lonely, and if she missed me. That last question was the cruelest, because her letter told me she loved me. She loved me so much she'd believed leaving was the only way to survive it. However, what happened when that love faded? What if every day away from me made leaving easier? What if she woke up one morning and didn't miss me anymore? What if she met someone? My hand tightened around my pen. No, I couldn't think about that because the image alone made something violent crawl beneath my skin. Another man making her smile, her learning how he took his coffee, sitting across from her at dinner, touching her hand, kissing her, and getting everything I'd been too stupid to appreciate when it belonged to me. I stood abruptly. I need air. I said out loud, but then my office door opened and I looked up. Her oldest brother Tyler walked in. Connor. He walked in completely relaxed. Your father said you're in here. I forced myself back into my chair. Meeting's in 15 minutes. I know. He dropped into the chair across from me. Tyler had known me nearly as long as she had, which meant I had spent the last month lying directly to his face. Her brother leads back onto the chair. Have you talked to my sister today? My heart stopped. No. It's not technically a lie. He laughed. Of course not. She's probably too busy enjoying herself, but she did call Mom, told her she was super busy trying to get into her new hotel. My heartbeat accelerated. What hotel? He shrugged. I don't know. Some fancy hotel in London. You know she is. She likes pretty things. My hope died immediately. Her brother shook his head. Still can't believe you didn't go with her. I said nothing as I rolled my eyes. Tyler grinned. You've got enough people working for you. You could have survived taking a few weeks off. My throat tightened. If only he knew. You know my schedule. Yeah. Pretty boy Connor has important business. I glared at him as he laughed. I'm just saying. My sister finally takes a proper trip and her husband stays home. She's probably walking around London right now missing you. My chest twisted. She's not in London. I wanted to say it. I don't know where your sister is. I haven't seen her in a month. I don't know if she's safe. I don't know where she sleeps. I don't know if she's ever coming home. I wanted to say all of that. Instead, I leaned back. She's wanted the trip for a while. Another lie. Tyler nodded and stood. Well, good for her. She deserves some fun. Anyway, I'll see you downstairs. He reached the door before glancing back. And Connor? What? Next time my sister wants to disappear across the world, go with her. The door closed. I stared at it. A humorless laugh escaped me. When she get her back, she's never traveling without me again. 3 days later, I was sitting through a meeting I hadn't listened to for the last 20 minutes. Someone was talking about shipments. Someone else was arguing about territory. I didn't really care. My phone sat on the table, beside my hand, and it vibrated. I ignored it as it vibrated again and again. I exhaled and picked up as the call ended before I pick up. Then messages appeared. Call when you have the chance, sir. A second message appeared. It's about Mrs. Cade. Everything inside me stopped. I stood so quickly my chair scraped violently across the floor. The entire room went silent. Mr. Cade? Meeting's over. Everyone stared at me and one foolish man spoke. We aren't finished. You can't just... I am finished. My eyes narrowed at him then. Hassak, who nodded, taking out his gun as I already walking out. I called before the door even shut behind me, ignoring the shouts behind me. He answered immediately. Sir, what did you find? We got something and... My heart slammed against my ribs. What did you find? My voice stern, cold. A transaction. I stopped walking. What transaction? A debit card transaction to pull from an ATM. My eyebrows pulled together. That doesn't make sense. She hasn't touched her accounts. It's not hers. One of the financial searches flagged activity tied to her family, he explained. A card connected to her parents' account was used. My pulse thundered. When and where? Earlier today and in New Zealand, sir. I stood still and took a deep breath. I had something. I had something real. One tiny mistake for some reason, but I am glad. I even thanked the God above me despite never talking to him. I took a deep breath and began my order to him. The exact time, exact location, what she bought, cameras from the business and every building surrounding it, traffic cameras. I want footage from every road within miles. Already working on it. Good. I started walking again. Fast. Reaching the elevator. And don't alert her family. Understood. Don't touch the card either. No freeze. No notification. Nothing that could make her realize we saw it. Yes, sir. I ended the call. My hands were shaking and I looked down at them, laughing before reaching into my pocket and pulled out her wedding ring to stare at it. The anger I'd expected never came. Instead, relief nearly brought me to my knees. She was alive. She was okay. My wife was out there. Found you, I whispered, and I would follow it to the end of the earth if I had to. I closed my fist around her ring. You almost did it, sweetheart. The elevator doors opened and I stepped inside. Time to get my wife and bring her back.
I looked up at the clear blue sky and took a deep breath, letting the cool, fresh air fill my lungs. It had been peaceful. A whole month. Sometimes I still couldn't believe I was actually here. New Zealand had slowly become familiar. I spent most of my days wandering through town, trying little cafes tucked away on quiet streets, browsing local bookstores and tiny shops, or simply walking without any destination in mind. Sometimes I'd sit by the waterfront with a cup of coffee for hours. Other days, I'd stay inside all day watching dramas while rain tapped gently against my apartment window. It was nice. Lonely, but nice. I took enough money that, if I budgeted carefully, I could comfortably live for at least a year without working. Unfortunately, a few days ago I'd completely ignored my budget after spotting the cutest little potted plant. It had tiny green leaves and looked absolutely adorable sitting in the corner of a shop window. I couldn't leave it behind. So I ended up withdrawing a little extra cash from an ATM. The plant now sat proudly beside my apartment window where it caught the morning sunlight every day. It made my tiny studio apartment feel more alive. The apartment itself wasn't much. A small kitchen, a tiny dining table that barely fits 2 chairs, one bathroom, a bed tucked into the corner beside a bookshelf. It was perfect, after all. It was only me now. I adjusted the grocery bags in my hands as I walked home. Today's shopping went surprisingly well. I'd even managed to find beautiful strawberries. Bright red. Perfectly ripe. I couldn't stop smiling just thinking about washing them, curling up beneath a blanket, and finishing the drama I'd started 2 nights ago. Maybe I'd even buy whipped cream next week. The thought made me laugh softly. It was strange, finding happiness in such little things. My smile slowly faded. I missed Connor. God, I missed him so much. I'd honestly believed leaving him would make moving on easier. That distance would slowly help me fall out of love. Instead, it felt like I'd carried my heart across the ocean with me. If anything, I cried more now than I ever had back home. But I was also proud of myself, because despite everything, I kept moving forward. Every morning I forced myself out of bed. I made little plans for the day. Visit a cafe, read a book, walk somewhere new, try cooking something different. Anything, as long as I stayed busy, because the moment I stopped, I thought about Connor. And nights. Nights were always the hardest. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, imagining him asleep in our bed, wondering if he'd noticed I was gone yet, wondering if he'd read my letter, wondering if he missed me. Then I'd laugh at myself. Of course he didn't. Connor was probably relieved. The house would be quieter now. No wife constantly asking if he'd eaten. No one waiting up for him. No one fussing over his injuries. He was finally free. Exactly what I'd wanted for him. Even if it shattered me. I reached my apartment building and smiled politely at one of my neighbors before checking my mailbox. Mostly advertisements. Nothing exciting. I climbed the stairs to the second floor, pulling my keys from my bag. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. My apartment smelled faintly of vanilla from the candle I'd forgotten to blow out that morning. I smiled. Home. I carried the groceries to my tiny dining table before closing the front door behind me. I was just about to unpack everything when, "Are you not going to lock the door?" A deep voice echoed through the apartment. I screamed. My heart stopped. No. Slowly. I turned toward my bed, and my entire world froze. Connor. He was sitting on the edge of my bed. Dark curls, slightly messy. Brown eyes fixed entirely on me. He looked exhausted. There were dark circles beneath his eyes. His jaw was covered with light stubble. His suit looked wrinkled, as if he'd slept in it. He stood. No. How? How did he find me? Why was he here? Fear settled into my chest. Not because I thought he'd hurt me. Connor would never hurt me. But because seeing the man I'd spent an entire month trying to forget, made every wall I'd built around my heart begin to crumble. He walked toward me. Every step was slow, measured. When he reached me, he walked right past my shoulder. Click. He locked the front door, then turned back around, suddenly. He was standing so close I had to tilt my head back just to meet his eyes. Nothing came out. Connor didn't speak. Instead, his hands slowly lifted. He cupped my cheeks. I flinched. Only slightly. I hadn't meant to. But I'd become so used to living alone that the sudden touch startled me. I saw the flicker of pain cross his face. Still, he didn't let go. His thumbs brushed gently across my cheeks as he slowly turned my face left, then right, carefully examining me. His eyes traveled over every inch of my face, like he was making sure I was really here, like he needed proof. Then, he let out the softest sigh. Before I could ask what he was doing, his arms wrapped around me, tightly. Oh! The sound escaped before I could stop it. Connor buried his face against my neck. His entire body relaxed, as if he'd finally been allowed to breathe again. I missed you. The whisper was so quiet, I almost thought I'd imagined it. I blinked. My eyebrows furrowed. What? Connor? Missed me? His arms tightened again. He almost seemed to melt against me, like he wanted to disappear into the hug. "See, Connor," I squeaked. I can't breathe." He immediately loosened his grip. Sorry. But he didn't let go. Not completely. His hands remained around my waist, as if he was afraid I'd vanish again. I looked up at him. His eyes never left mine. Then, he smiled. A small, relieved smile. God. Being away from him for a month hadn't helped me at all. One smile. Just one. And my heart betrayed me all over again. I quickly looked away. No. His voice was gentle. Look at me. I pressed my lips together. Slowly. I looked back up. Connor rested his forehead against mine. Our noses brushed together. I love you. Everything inside me stopped. What? I love you. His voice cracked. I know I'm stupid. He laughed bitterly. I know I'm a fucking idiot. His thumb stroked my cheek. I told you I'd never give you my heart. He closed his eyes. But somewhere along the way. When? I whispered. When did you suddenly love me? He swallowed. I don't know. I frowned. What? I don't know. He gave a helpless laugh. I've never been in love before. I didn't know what it was supposed to feel like. I thought love was supposed to hit you all at once. I thought it was obvious. His eyes searched mine desperately. But it wasn't. It happened so slowly I never noticed. I got used to you. His smile was heartbreakingly soft. I got used to waking up beside you. I got used to your coffee. I got used to hearing you laugh. I got used to seeing your shoes beside mine. I got used to coming home because you were there. I got used to us. His voice broke. And when you left, he laughed once. I couldn't breathe. Tears burned my eyes. My mind immediately returned to that night. His jacket, the perfume, the lipstick mark. But, my voice shook. Your jacket. Connor blinked. My jacket? The perfume. The lipstick. The woman. His entire expression changed. Confusion. Then realization. Then horror. Oh. His eyes widened. Oh, sweetheart. He ran a frustrated hand through his hair. That night after the meeting, he explained everything. One of the wives attending the meeting had gotten far too comfortable. She'd leaned against him before he'd immediately pushed her away. He'd been angry. Annoyed. He hadn't even realized she'd left lipstick on his jacket, or that her perfume had rubbed onto it. I never looked at another woman. His voice was firm. I never wanted another woman. I've never cheated on you. I never would. I listened quietly. Every explanation made sense. Every piece fit. The misunderstanding. It was real, but it didn't erase the last 2 years. I wiped my eyes. It still hurt. Connor nodded immediately. I know. For 2 years. My voice cracked. I loved you. I waited. I hoped. I begged myself to be patient. I kept thinking, tomorrow, maybe tomorrow he'll love me. Another tear rolled down my cheek. I kept wondering what was wrong with me. What I was missing. What another woman had that I didn't. Connor's face crumpled. I know. No. I shook my head. You don't. You know how many nights I cried beside you while you slept? His eyes filled with guilt. You know how many times I wished you'd kiss me because you wanted to? I would have been happy with anything. A hug. Holding my hand. A real kiss. You never even tried. Connor looked like every word physically hurt. Him. I know. You say you love me now. I laughed weakly through my tears. But what happens when we go home? What if everything goes back to how it was? What if one day you wake up and realize you were wrong? I don't think. I covered my face. I don't think my heart could survive losing you twice. For a long moment, Connor said nothing. Instead, he gently took my hands away from my face. I can't promise I'll never make mistakes. His voice was quiet. I've already made the biggest one of my life. He held my gaze. But I can promise this. I'm done, assuming you'll know how I feel. I'm done keeping it inside because I don't understand it. His forehead rested against mine again. If I love you, you'll hear it. Every day if I have to. His thumb brushed away another tear. If I miss you, I'll tell you. If I want to kiss you. A tiny smile appeared. I'm going to kiss you. My heart hammered against my ribs. I crossed the world for you, he whispered. I searched for a month. I nearly lost my mind. I'm not leaving New Zealand without my wife. A watery laugh escaped me. You sound very confident. I am. What if I say no? I'll keep asking. What if I stay here forever? I'll move here. What if I tell you I don't forgive you yet? I'll spend the rest of my life earning it. I stared at him. Really stared at him. This wasn't the Connor I'd left behind. This man looked terrified, hopeful, vulnerable, for the first time. He wasn't the feared heir of the Cade family. He was just my husband, the man who'd finally learned what love was. Idiot, I whispered. He smiled. I know. I hated you. I know. I cried every night. I know. You made me miserable. I know. I still love you. His smile grew. I know. I rolled my eyes. I wasn't finished. I love you. I took a shaky breath. But you're going to spend a very long time making this up to me. His grin softened. I was planning on spending the rest of my life doing exactly that. He leaned closer. Slowly. Giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. His lips brushed mine. Softly. Gently. The kiss I'd dreamed about for years. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was careful. Almost reverent. As if he was asking permission with every second. When I kissed him back, Connor let out the smallest relieved laugh against my lips. His arms wrapped around my waist once more. This time, I hugged him first. He buried his face against my hair. I'm taking you home, he whispered. I smiled against his chest. Home. For the first time. That word didn't mean the Cade estate. It didn't mean New Zealand. It didn't mean a mansion or a tiny apartment. Home was wherever Connor and I were together. And this time, we were finally going home.